So we're excited this morning. Kasia, our own Kasia, has invited her friend Kasia. Uh, so Kasia Miale team, tell us, who are we getting the pleasure of meeting this morning?
Hi, good morning. We have a pleasure meeting Kasia, another Kasia. This time of year is great to also look at our finances. And Matt gave us a homework of meeting with a financial planner. And I don't know who did or who didn't. I figured that there's nothing better than bringing a great person to the call and talk to us because the misconceptions are many and plentiful. That I don't have enough money to start really investing, or looking at money is actually really scary, or it's boring, or it's too late for me. And I really think that Kasia can answer all of those questions. I think about financial health kind of like going to your physical. When we have little kids, we bring them to physicals, but when have we last gone to the doctors and really looked at, what's going on with us? Some of us are probably really good with that, and some of us are not. So that's why I
So,
figured that I'm gonna be selfish and have
well,
opportunity to ask so many questions.
I don't think that it's so selfish, Kasia. I think one of the key elements, right, is that everybody, every human on the planet is striving to be healthier, wealthier, or happier. In most of our cases, all three. If you really think it's healthier, wealthier, happier, those are generally the guiding principles that people are trying to get to. Most people are saying, boy, if I was just a little healthier, if I just had a little more money, if I just felt a little bit better about my situation. And so it really is it's foundational to why we do this call. And Kasia Parnell, welcome. You are on this call with 30 of the best realtors in the state of Connecticut and Massachusetts. And we're here today because every Friday we come together to learn something. We put ourselves in the line of fire on how to become better at some part of our life. Sometimes that's health and wellness. Sometimes that's strictly real estate. Sometimes it's bringing someone like you here to give us some sort of base principles around what it is that we ought to be doing in order to plan our wealth strategy. And so I generally like to sort of have this call sort of a little bit more about you, Kasia, than maybe you're typically used to if you do calls like this. I'd love to learn a little bit about kind of how did you get to where you are? What was your process like? And then we can dive a little bit into what are some of the things that you think we all ought to be thinking about as we prepare for, a wealthy life. So welcome, Kasia. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Kasia, for connecting with me, to inviting me here. We didn't meet we just met not that long ago, so I really appreciate a new friendship. Thank you, Corey, for organizing this call. Thank you, Matt, for this sounds really interesting. I really love this. I actually already thinking to incorporate something like that to my team. So this is very inspiring. Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. Oh, and my husband's bringing me coffee. Is this not nice?
It sounds
So,
like you've got
uh,
a well-designed system back there.
yes, I do. Well, so yes, happy Friday. Okay, well, let me I'm here to help you guys. I really love helping people with their finances. And I'll tell you why. I have very, very personal two reasons why. Um, and I started that very late in life. So when I look back on my life, everything led um, to this moment, to here, to help people. As you can probably hear, I am an immigrant, came from Poland when I was 17. My parents did not speak any English. I didn't speak any English. I mean, I think they still like my children. I mean, I do everything for them pretty much when it's on a computer or um, calls. Sometimes I go to the doctor with them. So they did not give me any financial education except work hard.
Hmm.
Well, we know how working hard pays off. Sometimes it does in general, but you have to have some strategy to make sure your money is growing for you. Um,
I once heard that if working hard was the recipe for building wealth, then everyone at Dunkin' Donuts would be a millionaire.
Correct.
And it's true because that's really hard work, right? They're up early and they're there all day and it's hard work, but that's generally not considered a path to wealth building.
Yes, and funny fact, I actually grew up in in the Hamptons. That's where I landed back
Mm.
on Long Island. And I started like probably most of the immigrants cleaning rich people's houses. That was at 17. I thought I'll be rich. Like literally that I was like, I'm just gonna go to college. This is my mentality from, when I first came to the country. So I was like, oh my gosh, all I have to do is go to college, get a good job, and I'll be like just like them. I'll have a
Mhm.
big house like that with a pool on the ocean view. So, well, you probably know how that ended, right? I finished college, didn't even know what 401k is. I'm not joking until I married my husband, who's American, and he says, "You're not contributing to 401k." I go, "What is this? I don't even know what that means." So he kind of yelled at me in a way and said, "No, we have to get you going." So this is my 30s, okay? Like this is how bad it was. And so I started that, but not till I had my children who are both autistic, and one is fully nonverbal, the other one has very big behavioral issues. And that's when I woke up in a way thinking that I'm going to be working for the rest of my life scared the heck out of me. I mean,
Being confronted by the reality of special needs children and recognizing that they were going to need support for the entirety of not just your life, but their life,
correct. I
suddenly
mean,
opened your eyes to it.
yes. I mean, yes, we didn't have a crystal ball when they were young, but with that genetic disorder they have, most likely the prognosis was they will never be able to live by themselves.
Mhm.
Not necessarily with me, but maybe with some support,
So it
right?
sounds so your husband like illustrated something to you. You say you talk about like he asked the question, "Oh, you're not contributing." So you must have had a job with a 401k.
Correct. So yeah, I went to college. I went to a job, a good job. That's what I thought it is, right? But we really didn't know what we were doing. We were contributing a little, spending because we made good money. So we lived day by day.
Sure.
And then
I think most of us can relate to that. Like, it's not the general message out there is more about earning money than it is about saving or investing money until you get into certain circles where you realize like those are actually the people that have the big houses with the pools are the ones that aren't really focused on the earning, they're focused on the investing. And it takes the no one teaches you that. It's not just being in Poland. Like they don't teach that here in the US either. There's no elementary school class about smart investing or wealth building. It's presumed that that's a luxury of the rich or that you're just going to figure it out. So you're not alone in coming to that late. So yeah, you went to college. What did you study in school?
accounting.
Okay, so were you a full-time accountant?
Yes, I started in a CPA firms and then I moved to corporate
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And I worked for big billion-dollar companies. I don't know if you guys maybe remember you in Connecticut. So I used to work in Computer Associates that was on Long Island. I don't know, there was big software company. So that's what I moved on from CPAs to big corporate jobs. And we moved to Georgia in 2009, and that's when I really wanted to organize my money. But my husband was just like most of the people. He was saying that we don't have enough money to
Mm,
have a financial advisor. He's like,
hmm.
I'm not paying anyone to only organize, a couple 100,000 or something like that, right? So, but I was literally, I couldn't sleep at night because of my kids. I needed to have a plan, and usually I'm very organized, and I like to have a plan all the time, every day, and especially with my kids. You have to have a plan almost to a minute, or you get a meltdown or some kind of you know, re some kind of thing that you can go with your day. So I'm a big planner. I was determined to um, find someone. And luckily, I was actually working in corporate job of Primerica, that company I work now. They did this every day. So I connected with a great couple. They're my brokers now. Um, what they did to my family was incredible in a way that gave us a plan, and all we had to is execute. So they told us exactly how much money do we have to put it away to make sure that my kids never run out of money, and we don't run out of money, and we have a nice lifestyle when we retire.
So I think I love the concept. I'm gonna ask a really pointed question because I think a lot of people can do that. You can go online, you could do one of those financial calculators, right? Like, and it's like, oh, all you need to do is set aside $1,500 a month for the next 30 years, and you'll be a billionaire by the time you're 65 but I think often where people really run into the challenge is really more of what your husband said that they say, well, we can't afford the $1,500 a month right now. And usually that's because your lifestyle or their lifestyle has already exceeded the capacity for investing. And so what we often see is, okay, somebody's making, I'm going to make up a number. Let's say that a household is making $200,000 a year, but they're spending $200,000 a year to maintain their lifestyle with two car payments, a mortgage, the groceries that they're buying, and I'm not even saying lavish. They're not living lavish. They're not taking limousines to date night or renting private suites at Taylor Swift concerts in London. They're just living what they perceive as a normal life, and there's not enough room for investing at that rate. And so often people feel, I think, overwhelmed by that initial confrontation that like the only way for me to invest is to start living less now, and I'm not ready to live less now, or I have to go make more money and invest it. But if I work harder and make more money, I want the reward for that. I want to experience it. So I think it's the primary challenge for most people is behavioral. That, if everybody on this call, let's just say that the Miale team has an amazing month next month, and next month I give everybody a $10,000 bonus. Everybody gets 10 grand. I would be willing to bet, I don't know this to be true, but I'd be willing to bet that even though no one expected it, even though it was completely gift money, that 0% of people would take all 10,000 and invest it. That there would
Agree.
be some rationalization of like, oh, I'll only use half. Maybe they'd invest some would spend it all. Some would say, I'm going to take half and spend half and invest it. And then some would say, I'm going to take a third, but almost no one would invest it all. So what is that about? Because I think that that's the piece we have to dig deeper into is understand the behavioral reasons? Like, why do people choose the gratification now versus later? You mentioned earlier that what triggered you or what motivated you was understanding the needs of your kids. So how do you, when you're working with a client, like how do you help them understand the value of investing now versus not?
Great question. People don't know what's possible. They get stuck in a rut and the circle continues. Like you said, they get extra money, they go on vacation or they spend or, buy a dishwasher or whatever they need. And that's a normal behavior. I was there too. That's not that's normal. But when you get and organize yourself in a way to see what's possible, how can I start? Because the problem is with starting. You just have to start. You don't have to have $1 million to invest. Start small, maybe $100. And when I meet with clients, first of all, I get to know you. So I will know how much you spend on Amazon. Like this is how deep we're gonna go. We're gonna go do your budget worksheet. Like we'll sit and see, okay, where can we find that extra $100? Or how much do you have left? So I literally help you to get organized because that's people get overwhelmed. That, like you said, they're get overwhelmed with everything. Oh, but
I mean, just last night, I realized that I have two Paramount Plus subscriptions. One,
exactly.
well, but I bet you most of you have more than one subscription to something because one is like bundled through Amazon, something that I don't know when or who signed up for it at some point, and then one is direct. And like you probably have, and that's like all over the place. I was like reading an article about it, and I was like, I bet you that we have that going on in my household. And again, it's cheap, but it's 14.99 or 7.99, whatever it is. But like one is being billed through Amazon, one is being billed through Paramount Plus. You don't really even know, but there's this like subscription creep and bills so you would go through a budget with somebody and help them find all that.
Yes.
That's amazing.
That's how
That in
that's
and of
how I
itself
start.
is worth. I know for me, I don't know how many of you guys would benefit from something like that. I know I would tremendously benefit from somebody doing that.
I mean, even people call me with the craziest questions, even like when they get a bonus and they say, Kasia, do I put into my mortgage? Do I buy a new car or do I invest? And then we literally think about it together. It's a team effort of a decision. We make a decision together. It depends. So when I meet with clients, I get to know them. I know their kids' names, their ages, what are your needs at this time? Is your kid going to college and you need this $10,000? So you should probably not invest it because if you're moving out the kid in August, guess what? You're gonna need that $10,000. So we literally answer any financial questions that's going on in your family. So,
So one of the other things that I think we struggle with in real estate is that um, everyone that you see on this call, with the exception of a couple people that are on our staff, are 1099 independent contractors. And so what that means is that on any given year, someone's income can fluctuate as much as 50, 60%. That one year someone may make $200,000, the next year they might make $130,000, the year after that they might make 80, and then the year after that they might make 320. And so the process of the challenge that I've often found with financial planning around that sort of unpredictable income is, to your point, Kasia, you say like just set aside a certain amount every month, but we don't really know even how much we're going to make in a given month. So sometimes it's really difficult to make that leap because, and I can speak for everyone here because I've been there. You think you can anticipate, but the world operates in 30-day cycles, right? Every 30 days the bills are due, but real estate agents and real estate income does not. It adheres to absolutely no system whatsoever, right? It's not every 30 days. It could be every 45, it could be every 90, it could be every week. There's no system. And so the lack of the ability to get into a regular pace and cadence makes it very challenging. How would you advise somebody working through that kind of a challenge?
Well, I think everyone on the call pays electric bill, probably pays a mortgage. And what do? You have to pay it, right? There is no, oh gosh, I didn't get paid. They'll turn off your electric bill, right?
Mm.
And they'll take your house away. So same thing with investing. You get on a plan. You have a plan, and if it needs to start small, you start small. But you make sure you treat it as a bill. You paying yourself. You paying electricity, you paying mortgage, you paying to met. You paying yourself. So if it has to, like I said, if it has to start small, we start small, but you treat it as a obligation, like as a bill to yourself. And then you guys a cycle, right? So at the end of the year, um, you can put in more whatever's left. Or when you do your taxes and you see, okay, well, I owe taxes, right? What can I do with this money? And there's options to put it away instead of give it to the government.
Mhm. Well, I think that that's one of the other things that really good financial planners help, especially with people like us, is recognize that your biggest expense, guys, it's not your mortgage, it's not your car payment, it's not your team split, it's the government. Your biggest expense is the IRS, and that 30% of everything that goes into your bank account is accounted for before it goes into your bank account. And even though you get to put it in your bank account and spend it, come April when you file your taxes, the government's going to want that money. They look at it like they gave you a loan on your own money. Listen, we can
Mhm.
argue the semantics of it all, but that's how it works. And so then suddenly there's this check that you need to come up with, and you see people cycle through that pattern of reward and deprivation year over year where they're making lots of money and then come January 1st they realize, oh my God, I'm going to have to write a check for 30 or $40,000 that I don't have because we put the patio in or we did this other thing, or and instead of making the investment in things that the government reduce your taxable income, you make an investment in lifestyle things, and so your taxable income doesn't change, but the money's already gone. It's also one of the things that I think gets a lot of real estate agents in a trap, and we see it all the time. We see people, getting stuck in. Everybody here should be driving a car that's over 5,000 pounds, right? Like minimum. Is it 5 or 6? Do you know the number, Kasha?
I think it was five.
Yeah.
Six.
So you should all
Maybe
be driving big SUVs. And if you don't know why, call your accountant and ask, why should I be
exactly.
driving a big SUV? Because you can depreciate 100% of the cost of the car as long as it weighs over 5,000 pounds. Does this sound silly? Of course it's silly. You know why you can do it? Because you're a full-time entrepreneur, and the government has created agricultural exemptions for anybody that needs a vehicle in the course of their work, and they include realtors in that category as long as the vehicle qualifies as over 5,000 pounds, because of course it's farm equipment. Like that's that's the logic behind it. For real, the tax code says that if you own farm equipment, you can deduct 100% of the cost in year one. So if you're driving a small car, you can't deduct that. You can't depreciate that cost. You have to do it over, what's the depreciation schedule for a car? Is it, I don't remember if it's 18 years or something like that. I don't think a Nissan Rogue is big enough, Brianna. Good question though. Plus, it doesn't matter if you have to do it in the year that you buy it. But one of the things that you'll see is real estate agents are buying new big cars. G-Wagons do count, Dan. Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
my wife was very conveniently showing me that a G-Wagon met the standard when she wanted a new car. We landed on a Lexus because that shit's ridiculous, a G-Wagon, but an Escalade too. Like, it's crazy, but there's a reason I drive a Toyota Sequoia. Like it qualifies. It's a great car. Your large car is deductible in year one. Sorry, Kasha, I didn't want to go off on a tangent, but it's some of the things that like this that people don't realize. Maybe Kasha, we could talk a little bit about that too, because I think it's important, guys. What you want to understand is that the ability to depreciate 100% of the value of a car in year one means, let's say that you buy a car and it's $70,000. That sounds like a lot of money, but if you made $100,000 that year, you reduce your taxable income by that 70 grand. And by the way, Ginger, if I'm saying this incorrectly, chime in and fix my language here. You reduce your taxable income, which means if you were going to pay $30,000 on that car or on that income, you no longer owe the 30 grand because you don't have taxable income anymore.
Yeah, you
So the
wiped out the
car,
income. You
yeah,
wipe
so
out the income.
the car cost you 70, but it really didn't cost you 70 because the government gave you 30 back. It cost you 40. Do you see how that works? Yes. Somebody shake your head. I know. Listen, this is we're a team of realtors, so we're we big math people here. Lots of number crunchers, right? Yeah, exactly. So Kasia, how do we do it? Like, how do we manage it? I love the idea of make it like a bill. I love that. Just set it up. It's a bill. It's something you've got to pay every single month. But what else can we do?
Coming back to what you said before, hire a good CPA, like with a actual name, CPA, because there cannot be an accountants or bookkeepers, or that is very important. Maybe you can have a CPA on a call one day.
Yeah.
Because that's probably whatever you were saying about the deductions, that's very, very important, especially for 1099 people. Yes. Okay, I'm sorry, repeat your question.
Well, I'm like the thing is in the seat that I sit in, I know what's going through everybody's head. Like I know what they're all thinking. Like everybody's heard from a financial planner at some point in their life. And one of the reasons that I gave this homework to the team is that step one is you have to learn in order to start making decisions, right? So the thing is no one ever got rich by not investing. Like period, full stop. The only path to that is win the lottery. And frankly, you have a greater than 75% chance of going bankrupt if you win the lottery. So you're actually more likely, each of you, you're more likely to go bankrupt if you win the lottery than if you don't. Think about that. Why? Because people that win the lottery do not have the financial aptitude or habits that actually give them the skill set to manage all the money. So they get the money, and what do they do with the money? They spend the money. And then if you spend all the money, then eventually you have no more money, right? And so they spend it all wrong. Even though some of them think they're investing, they're not. So we struggle in this industry, Kasia, in a big way to get people to understand because our income feels a lot like the lottery sometimes. It's up, it's down, it's zero. And you mentioned like, well, what do you do if you have an electric bill and you can't pay it? A lot of people just put it off to the next month until they get the check, right? And then yes, they play a little bit of roulette. They gamble with their mortgage. They say, well, I can't pay it this month. I'll pay it next month. I'll pay it next month. And then eventually they get the check and they pay it all off. And they go, oh, phew, that'll never happen again. But then it happens again. So investing is for a lot of agents like something that's really, really tricky for them to get investing in the traditional means, meaning like you talked about, like that systematic every single month. So what are some tricks or habits or things that we could take away? Like what's something that somebody could do today? How could they get off this call and say, this is what I'm going to do today?
Uh, Maybe going through the subscription list, going
I
through
like
your
that.
budget, right? Do your budget. I can send Corey a sample of a budget worksheet and do it. And I know it's so hard to do it yourself. So if you need to have someone with a bat on you, like me, I can help. Because sometimes if you make an appointment with someone, it'll motivate you to do it because you sometimes you print out that worksheet, put it on your desk, and it never happens because
I
life gets
have I
busy.
have one. I have one right here. It's like,
All right. And did you do it?
hold on, where is it? Let me see if I can find it.
Maya.
Yeah, I
Is
have
it
one right
Maya?
here. It's been here for 2 years. Uh,
I know, right?
it's a your financial baseline.
Mhm.
Auto insurance, homeowners insurance. It's got all the things in it. Yeah, I got one. It's not been filled out for 2 years, so
Right,
I
right.
can
So
relate. I'm
yes,
not immune to this. I don't love it either. It's not fun.
to get someone to make you accountable.
Okay.
Yeah, make an appointment with someone, or you guys maybe do it together. Obviously, not share your expenses, but
I know
maybe
that Dan Lyden's
deadline.
really, really passionate about wealth building. I think I'm going to volunteer Dan. I think Dan should create a like wealth building mastermind on the team, Dan. I think you should do that. I think you should bring together a group of agents that are people that raise their hand that are committed to doing something every month. Like there's got to be a minimum commitment. Like you gotta commit. Like I'm gonna save $1,000 a month. It's something small enough that people could get into it. But all right, Dan, I voluntold you.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. That's the whole reason I got into real estate was wealth building. It was such a clear path of buying rentals, buy and hold, having that monthly income, passive income, and it's worked out for me. So happy to coordinate that.
I think like it's another thing too. Like we hear this constantly. How many of you guys got into real estate? I'm going to raise my hand in advance so you know that I'm one of them. In order to become an investor, not a real estate agent. Like, I mean, and more than half of the people on this call would say, "Oh yeah, that's why I got into real estate." And then you found yourself in this weird career of buying and selling homes on behalf of clients because the income is so great, but the income doesn't always lead you directly to investing, right? Because you start spending the money, and then before you know it, you're not investing. And it's my belief too, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Kasia, that having like people talk about diversification inside of investing, but I think diversification is more of it's not so much of like the traditional nerdy investor talk, which is like, oh, diversify, have some in small cap and international. And like, yeah, you should do that, but probably don't try to become an expert at it because most of you, it's like it's a lifelong lesson for people. Hire a
Absolutely.
financial planner that will do that for you, that will help you figure out what index funds to be in. But I think of diversification more like you should have different investment vehicles. Like you should have some real estate investments, you should have some traditional financial investments, you should have some other types of investments. How do you advise people around that, Kasha? Particularly like real estate people who want to own real estate.
Um, I love real estate. I also have couple houses and love it. Just it's not for everyone. It's a lot of work in a way that, you have to manage it. You have to or either pay someone to manage. So real estate is not for everyone. I think it's a great diversification. Agree. It's just a lot of I think it's a lot of work. And not sure like what you guys tell me what is your rate of return on your real estate investments?
Just depends dramatically on the investment. It's the same as saying what is your rate of return on a stock? Like real estate investments are a lot more like stocks than they are like index funds. Like because one property in one place versus a property somewhere else could be vastly different, and so much of your return. I'm not necessarily talking about your rental return, but so much of your return on net worth depends on, yeah, between 0 and 30%. Dan is exactly
That,
right. Yeah, so much of your return depends on what you buy it for, right? So I
mhm.
read recently, I think it was actually this week, that 60% of Americans net worth is actually in real estate assets. So of all, they take all of the Americans and say where do people have their money, the most of their net worth, and 68% of their net worth is in real estate assets. Now that's, again, the richest of the rich. That's not the case because the proportion goes down. But for most of the people that you're talking to, most of their wealth is in their real estate assets. More than half of their wealth is in their real estate, which is why what we do is so important, because if we can't help counsel people on how to protect it, grow it, leverage it in order to create new opportunities, then we're not really their best real estate advisor, are we?
Right. So I would say um I don't think real estate is for everyone, but I have a lot of single mothers who have no interest in doing real estate.
Mm.
The investments is more put it away and forget it. There is no inflation, there is no more taxes. Because if you really look at, no, I love real estate. I'm not saying, I'm just trying to compare. And I think if you can do both, great. Like you said, there is so much net worth in real estate. What I like about investments, exactly, that you don't have to think about it. You just pay yourself, revisit the plan every year, and you don't have to worry about taxes, really, property taxes, mortgage, all the inflation. Something breaks, right? You got to go and fix it. So it's just maintenance free, and you still less work, and you still get the same rate of return.
I like it. I'm going to dive into another topic, Kasia, that I think is one that's really important for the people on this call, and it's the topic of debt. And the reason that I feel like this is the unspoken like language that most financial planners shy away from, that I feel like is a miss. Most people, and I've been there before, and again, I can always speak from vulnerability and candor because I've been there. When I was in my early 30s and I had two kids under 4 years old. I had a property management company. This is all during the last sort of mortgage crisis. This is like 2010. I woke up one day and I was almost $100,000 in debt, credit card debt across four different credit cards, and I had really no, regular source of income. I had people that owed me money that weren't paying me. Like it was just a disaster. And my father-in-law, who followed the get rich slow plan, and he got very, very rich, very, very slow, right? But he got very, very rich by, living well within his means for, the better part of 35 years, investing. Many of you on the team have met my father-in-law. He comes to our events, right? They never moved out of their raised ranch that they bought in 1973 in East Hartford. They kept it immaculate. It was their house. They paid it off early. Like he got rich slow with investing. And I remember when I was inside of this crisis of $100,000 in credit card debt, entrepreneur trying to build a business, right? He was like, Matt, you just need a good financial plan. And I was like, you know what? Fucking shut the fuck up. I need 100 grand and I need like 10,000 a month. Like, what do you, no, I don't need a good financial plan. Like that's absurd. Like, that's not going to solve my problem in the next 30 days when I have another $7,000 in bills. And I think that a lot of people get stuck in that cycle of like, oh, it's just so simple, just a little bit every month. And it's like, it feels way more complicated than that, especially when you're underneath debt. So how do you value and this was the advice that I always got, which I struggled with, which was, you have to invest first and pay off the debt later. I always struggled with that because the debt was being charged at 17 or 18%, and the investing was never going to catch up with that. So it always felt like more important to put the money toward the debt. But of course, if you pay off debt, then you have no more cash. And so since you have no more cash, what do you do in order to live? You use more debt. And so this cycle just you never sort of get out of it. The only way out is to either win the lottery or earn your way out. So how do you guide people through that process?
Yeah, that's another thing that
Might
people
want some
get
more.
overwhelmed. And we have actually a lot of strategies that we help with paying the debt off. So there are easier ways to do it. And it's one of our things we do. My team does. We show you how to pay off those debts faster. And it can be incorporated with some investing. So when you sit with me, you will have that plan of how to pay off faster and do investing at the same time. And we're going to look at every debt you have, how much interest you pay, what's the minimum payment. We list it all. And our software shows us exactly, and it's called a snowball strategy. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like the Dave Ramsey model, right? Which is
Yes.
you pay off the smallest debt first because psychologically it starts to
Correct.
create, you start to feel like, oh, I have one less bill, right? It creates a snowball effect where it goes faster. Yeah,
Yeah, I think if you have it on a paper, like you get this plan, financial needs analysis on a piece of paper, and you can see it clearly, line by line, there's something psychological that you're like, oh, I can do this.
yeah. One of the things, and again, I'll share this with the team, guys, like we all have a capping model that we pay into with Keller Williams, right? So we pay a certain amount of the income that we get is reduced for a period of time every year until we hit the cap. One of the things that I strongly encourage everybody to do is adjust your income to the cap structure so that you're always taking a percentage of your income. Because during those months when you're not capped, you somehow manage to pay your bills. And then suddenly you come off cap and the money shows up in your bank account. But instead of it getting invested, it winds up getting spent. So I strongly encourage everybody to just operate on an 80-20 in perpetuity on your income. So whatever comes in, just take 20%. 20% goes to the market center until you pay off your $12,000 Keller Williams cap. But then once that's paid off, continue to operate at an 80-20 and take 20% and put it into some investment account. Whether you decide, whatever you do with that investment account, whether you decide to invest in real estate or put it into financial instruments or pay off debt, either way, you're just going to learn to set your financial baseline at a number that you can actually, you already know you can function in it. And if your income goes up, you can start to adjust it from an 80-20 to a 70-30 to a 60-40 to a 50-50. In a perfect world, everybody would be living on less than 50% of your income. Think about how fast compound interest would create wealth for you if 50% of every check that you got went into some financial instrument or investment and was earning money for you instead of you having to go out and work for it. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Has anybody deployed or executed on anything like that? You have, Aaron?
Well, I was just I wanted to comment on the concept of paying yourself first and starting small. Because I know I've shared before, like my dad, when I got my first entrepreneurial job selling insurance, and he was like super worried that I was gonna, just go into financial ruin and never save for retirement because he's been preaching that forever. He's also on the slow and steady path and now is pretty wealthy. But he said, I'm going to contribute $100 into an account if you open it and you promise to pay yourself $50 a month at a minimum into this investment account. And I was like, $100? Sure. I was super broke at the time. And I was like, I think I could make that work. And that $50 has built into significantly more. And I don't think of it as putting money away. It's a bill that I pay because it's on autopilot. I think if that's the one piece of advice I can say is whatever you set up for yourself, you have to put it on auto withdrawal,
Yep.
because then you can't mess with it. And it can't be easily accessible to take back. Like you're like, I don't even know how to get to it. I mean, I do, but it takes a lot of hoops to jump through to get that money. So I really do believe in that power of starting small and paying yourself. So I just want to share that.
Well, at some point you wind up hitting the benchmark, which is the lifestyle that you expected to live. And then once you've hit that, you start to like, hey, you've got your RV, you've got your house, you've got your second home, whatever it is that you always thought you would get. And then you have money. And when you have money, you start to say like, well, what should I do with this? Right, Kasia? Like, and that's the power of having a really, really good financial planner is that they can help guide you toward what those decision points might be.
Yeah, the 2080 might be hard at the beginning, but it could go to it. So like Aaron said, start small. When you see the results, you it's psychological again. You will want to put away more and you're gonna find money to put away for more.
Before I want to make sure I get to everybody's questions and comments, but so don't put your hands down, guys. So keep them up. But Kasia, I have a even more just a direct question about the Roth IRA, which is something that a lot of people hear about, right? The Roth IRA or the backdoor Roth and all of that. Can you give us like, I think for most of the people on this call, because remember, 1099 independent contractors don't have 401ks, right? So they don't have a built-in program. Like there's nothing built in that comes out of your paycheck. Like they have to set it up somewhere. And it's my understanding that as like call it like an entry level drug, that the Roth IRA can be a really powerful sort of entry point. Do you agree with that? And again, I'm speaking from like I'm by no means an expert at financial instruments as investments. I'm a real estate guy through and through. I've some stuff, but like it's not my main thing. So tell me about the Roth IRA. Like what's your opinion on that?
It's probably the best product in the US, but because it grows tax-free and you will never pay taxes on it ever again, because you pay upfront, right? You take your after-tax money and you invest, but it has limits, yearly limits, and a salary limits.
Mm-hmm.
You make over 100 and something per person, and couples 200 and over, you're not eligible.
But you can invest, what is it, 8,800 a year? Is that right?
8,000, I think, if you're over 50.
8,000 over. Okay, so that ages me. But how
And
much?
it just changed again in 2026. So sorry, I don't have
So it's like 7,000 if you're under 50 and 8,000 if
correct.
you're over 50. But the reason I call this like the gateway drug to investing is that I started early when I started investing, I started with that because that was like the thing that was the easiest for me to understand. So just for those of you that are sort of entering into this world and thinking, it's the Roth IRA is you can put $7,000 a year into an account. And what Kasha's saying about tax free is if that $7,000 grows to be 300,000, it's all your money. You pay no tax on the amount that it grows to. Versus every other investment that you make, you will owe taxes on the growth because it's income. But the Roth IRA is a limited, there's no tax on it. So if you start, for those of you, especially those of you that are under 30, if you start putting $7,000 a year just into an account that's going to grow at, let's say, an average rate of return of 6 to 8%, who knows? Over time, that's going to really, really start to pay off. And you can do it each. Now, Kasia pointed out that there are income limits. So if you make too much money, they say you can't use that tool anymore.
Correct.
But until you make that much money, you should be using that tool. Like that's like another one of those caveats that like doesn't matter until it matters. And it's when it matters, it won't matter as much because you'll have money. So you'll have different options available to you. I think everybody here should be like Googling Roth IRA and finding somebody that they can invest with. So, Bennett, what are you thinking?
Just real quick, I was to your earlier point. I don't remember how this started, but every single check I've ever gotten in real estate, I've taken 25% out and just put it into a separate account. And it saved me a lot of times where at the end of the year, it's like, all right, you owe 13 grand in taxes. It's like, all right, well,
There it is.
account's just sitting there. And it's just a habit I got into way early.
The super, everybody should be doing that. You should just, every single check should be deposited and divided 25% to one side, 75% to the other side. Really smart. Erin, what do you think?
Yeah, so sorry, I realized I didn't actually answer your question before. I just didn't write down part 2 of that. I was trying to make a point and then I was supposed to say how I got there. Because you asked the question, like, how did you build the habit of like sticking to saving instead of spending once your income goes up or whatever. So one of the things the way I got to the amount of money that I do now is that like when I paid off my student loans, the money I was used to contributing to student loans now got turned into increasing the dollar amount that I was automatically withdrawing. Then it was the car payment. Then it was the like anything that I had built into my lifestyle, I basically pretended like was still always there. And I think that's the point that you were trying to make, including cap. And so that's a good way to just spend money. And then at the end of the year, when you do have to pay your taxes, to Bennett's point, the money's there. And then whatever's left over, that's actually what then goes back into my, savings account or different buckets or investment money that I want to spend otherwise. But I do have a question for you, Kasia. You talked about something in the beginning that was like really interesting around understanding where your money's going. And I think that that's something probably all of us struggle with, the little, subscriptions here and there. And, all of a sudden a coffee is $8 at Starbucks, and which every time I pay it, I think I'm crazy, but then I keep going back because I like it.
Well, hey, no judgment here.
So, do you offer a service where somebody could say, here's all my bank statements, here's all my credit card statements. Can you convert this into the budget to tell me what I'm spending and then help me come up with a plan of how much we could find available to then go invest? Because I would say, to Matt's point, my financial plan has also been sitting in a box somewhere for 2 years because there's nothing exciting about putting that together, and there's always something more important. So I was just wondering if that's part of a service you provide where you could help someone with that.
Yes, great question. That's probably the best. No, it is the best product I offer, financial needs analysis. And basically, you give me all your information. Some people are good with filling them out themselves. Some of them are better collecting, and while we on a Zoom, we put it all in a system, in a software, and we'll spit out all our a plan for you, and we'll go line by line, like, hey, why are you spending so much on going to restaurants, right? And so we literally go through each everything. How much you make? Hey, can you make more? How can we make you make more money? Why are you paying so much taxes? Do you get a refund? What do you do with your refund? I mean, I will know everything about you when we go through that.
I wonder too, like even if like, just to your point, Aaron, I was thinking about, like, you could probably take 3 months of bank statements, 3 months of credit card statements, every place where you spend money, and load it into ChatGPT and say, give me a baseline, like what am I spending? Like, I would be willing to bet that could get you started for those that are like not ready to do like the deep dive. Because I know for me, like, everything, to your point, Aaron, it's like it feels like another job, and it's like I'm not sure that I'm ready to do all that, to get the multiple highlighters out and start figuring all that stuff out. That's why what you do, Kasia, is so valuable. But you could literally just start, like, download PDFs of 3 months of your bank statements and credit card statements, put it in ChatGPT and say, organize this, categorize it, and tell me how much I'm spending. Like, start there. Start with clarity. Like, clarity will give you an abundant amount of power on decision making. Love it. Tony, what are you thinking?
So I have a couple of questions. Kasia, thank you for coming on the call. My first question is, for an emergency fund, like say if I have 3 months, 6 months, 1 month, whatever it is, like if there's an emergency and I need to get that money, it's somewhere. But I want the money to work for me, where it's making interest. But if I need to get it, I need to get it like within a week. Where's the best place to keep that money? And then my second question is, I have two little kids. They have brokerage account, and it's an index fund. Every week they each get $50. Like, what is the bet? Is that a good vehicle? Because I know they have time on their side, and 20, 30 years from now, it's going to be worth a lot more money. So when you have little kids, what's the best way to set them up for success without me investing a lot of money? Like, I do small amounts.
Okay. So the best way to access your money quick is high yield savings account. Tony, you mentioned savings. an emergency fund. So make sure there's two different things. Savings account is that's for like if you lose your job, right? You have 3 or 6 months of money put it away. That's a quick, you can get that quick. Emergency fund, it's more for if my car breaks or my dishwasher goes out, right? You should have one of those too. So just want to point out there's two different accounts that you should have. For the kids, so I'm sorry, did I answer your question?
No, my question is, yeah, that money is there and it's in a Vanguard savings account. It makes 3.25%, which is a lot. But my question is, can I make more money with that money?
You can, but what if something happens, right? If you invest, you can just pull out your money. You will pay you pull fees and taxes. So that's why we strongly recommend having the savings and emergency fund. And you might not want to keep 20,000 in there. That's probably not the most in emergency fund,
Yeah,
not the
that's
most.
Matt Miale. I don't have that much money.
Okay. So yeah, if it's under $1,000, you okay. I think you, especially with small children, you probably save with just having a high yield savings account. Investment is for investing. You gotta put it away and forget about it. That's the bottom line. And for kids, is this a brokerage account, just a regular brokerage account, or is it like UTMA or UGMA?
No, it's not a UTMA. It's just a regular brokerage account that I add money, and it's an index fund, so it follows the stock market.
Okay. And what's the rate of return there? Do you know if you're getting a good
I would
rate
say
of-
like 9 to 11%.
Okay, that's not too bad. And then I want to just make sure that you don't put until you are financially stable, don't start investing in your kids. The best gift you can give it to your kids is being safe and stable. So if it's $50 here or there because they give gifts, I'm okay with that. But don't start putting like $1,000, $2,000. That's a lot of money that you could be investing in yourself. So make sure you are protected, you have a plan and you are executing your plan. Then you worry about kids. How old are your kids?
4 and 8.
Okay, yeah.
They're
that's
both millionaires too already. So Tony's been really doing a great job. So
They will be.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So make sure you have a plan and you executing your plan, and then you can focus on your kids. But I have no problem with $50 there and $100 there. That's a great way to start. So yeah, the 9-11 is great. I'm sure you can find something better. I don't know if you have time to do it. That's what we do. See if we can do any better for you. That's up to you.
I love it, Kasia. So Kasia, take us home, Kasia. Tell us what we need to know. What are your thoughts? And then we're gonna wrap up here.
Are you talking to me, Kasia?
Yes,
Our
you,
Kasia.
Kasia.
Our Kasia. Okay.
You, Kasia.
So because I actually do want to like kind of bring it home. To Erin's point, you do help if someone produces we're realtors. We live in our cars. We have better things to do than looking at our finances. So if we produce all the financial documents, you do help people to go through with them, correct?
Say it again.
If we produce all our financial statements, all our financial documents, you will help a person go through it. Like you will go through it, prepare for the Zoom, and on a Zoom meeting that lasts 30 minutes, because if it's longer, you're going to lose us.
Correct.
You can help us come up with a plan. Okay, so first of all, how long does it take? How much does it cost? And then what's next? Because if I am going to come out of the Zoom meeting with a list of start this account, do this, do that, you lost me. I'm not doing it. It's next 2 years until I get to that homework.
Correct. And yeah, so that plan only takes about half an hour if you bring me all your statements. If you're not organized, it might take an hour. If you don't have and you have to pull out of your drawer, then it might take a little bit longer, right? When we finish, you get that plan after that 1 hour, and we don't execute everything at one time. We go step by step. Okay, what's first? Let's fix your rate of return on your investments you have, because that's probably the most important thing. What's left on your budget, right? Do you have money to invest? So we go through, I do a plan and we go through one by one. I remind you to do it too. I'm here to call you the next week and say, hey, let's hop on a Zoom and execute this. The next week we do this, and we do this one step at a time. You're not alone. And you're right, that list it will be overwhelming. It might be overwhelming, but I'm here to make sure we meet every week or every 2 weeks and we'll execute it. So it takes few appointments to get everything in place.
I love it.
And how much does it cost, Kasia?
Okay, so I don't charge for that. We don't charge. We strongly think that education is free. So this is a product that we literally win people over. I'm not going to lie. When you see that product, that financial needs analysis, it speaks for itself. Then the next step, it's just inevitable. So we are very proud of that step, and we don't charge for that.
That's awesome. So, Kasia, how can we help you? How can we support you? What would be a way for you've got 33 people here who you've put a ton of effort and energy into helping today. So you for sure started your day off by making a difference today. So well done. You get to check that box. So how do we help you? How can we show up and support your business in the same way that you've supported us today?
Maybe I can have you guys, one of you come and help my team learn how to invest in real estate.
Love that.
That would be great. I already brought so much out of you guys today. Thank you. My Friday couldn't be any better. And then I do offer a free How Money Works, a digital brochure. You can print it out, give it to your kids to read. Very simple way to get yourself organized and understand the basics.
That's
So
wonderful.
do me a favor, at least read that. If you don't want to meet with me, fine, but at least read that. This is a great
I think you'll get a number of people that'll reach out to you for a consultation. Kasia, this has been so great. Thank you so much for joining us. Kasia Nowak, thank you for bringing Kasia Parnell to the team today. We've all learned and we're all a little bit better. So make it an amazing day, everybody. Kasia Parnell, thank you so much. Kasia Nowak, thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
everybody.
Nice to meet you all.
This was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.